All right, g'day, hi, and welcome to part 2 on the keel discussion. Okay, so we have keels. The three main ones I'm going to talk about is full-length keel, fin keel, and a cutaway keel like I have on this boat. Where what I was saying in the last segment was kind of, if the boat was upside down, that boat, let's say, is 45% ballast to weight ratio or whatever. So 45% of the boat's weight is basically the keel, which is pretty common. I'd say 45 to 50%. On some of the full-length keel, it might be 55%. So actually 55% of the boat's weight is the actual keel, which means the bottom of the boat is heavier than the top of the boat. Now, because of where the keel is and how far down it is, a shallow draft keel is probably not going to right the boat as easily as a deep draft keel. So a 4-foot keel, 4'2" keel like this is at 2,000 pounds or 2,200 pounds, about a ton, at the bottom of this boat. Okay, if this boat had a 6-foot keel, same weight, well, you have more leverage. It's like having this much leverage or this much leverage, right? So the same weight, the further down it goes, the more leverage, cantilevering action you'll get, which will help you right your boat. That's the whole point of the keel, is to right the boat in a knockdown. The main focus of the keel, though, is to track the boat so you don't just blow sideways when you put up your sails. So it basically acts as a foil going through the water, kind of like an airplane wing, but with water, and that keeps you tracking. So the keel is swept back, so it pushes more pressure on one end of the keel. You have a low pressure end of the keel and a high pressure end of the keel. Where the low pressure is, basically it displaces, meaning the high pressure pushes the keel forward. So when you got force on the sails and that energy has to go somewhere, it transfers down through the boat, through the keel, and pushes the keel through the water like it's mounted on a rail, so to speak. So that's the idea of, for tracking, is why you have a keel. Now, if you have picked a full-length keel, most people that pick a boat with a full-length keel that are not experienced sailors, they do it on rumor. I had the same philosophies that almost everybody else had, that the full-length keel was the safest. The best boat you could ever get is an Albert 22, because one guy survived a storm in it, and it was a legendary when all the other boats broke, and this guy's boat survived a storm in 68, and it was like 48 knot winds, 50 knot winds, and he came up out of the storm no problem because the boat had a full keel. It was good. Maybe it was just the guy was a really good sailor and knew how to lock down his boat. Nobody factored that in. It was just Carl Alberg was the best boat designer in the world. And I'm not saying the Albert 22s weren't built like tanks. I mean, that's a pretty heavy little... The Hallman 20 and the Albert 22, those are great little boats. I've always wanted one of each. In fact, before I bought this, I was sitting on a... this was a boat I was looking for, and I was like, okay, I can't find a Hughes 26 that I want. I looked at a bunch of them, and some of them were... The ones that were in good shape were like $16,000, and I was way too rich for my blood at the time. And so I saw this nice little Albert 22, mint condition. I was sitting on it with the yacht broker, and I was telling Larry, I said, oh, this nice little boat. I said, yeah. I said, you ever come across a Tanzer 26 or a Hughes 26? He goes, or a Tanzer 26, because I was also looking at that as a racer cruiser. Great boat. Full keel. An unscathed rudder. Very, very, very good boat all around as a racer cruiser. Great river boat. Fairly roomy inside, all that good stuff. And I'm sitting there. He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm sitting on the Alberg, and it's got the full keel, and I'm just going, well, this thing is going to be as safe as anything because of that full keel. But it's slow, meaning the biggest problem with a full keel is you have a lot of drag to overcome. So that means you have to have a lot of sail. Now, most boats are under canvas, but we'll get to that in a second. So anyway, as I'm sitting there, he tells me, yeah, I got a Tanzer 26, which would be the second type of boat. Let me see if I got some pictures here in this poor old magazine. It's all dilapidated. Let's see if I can get you some keelboat pictures as we go here. Anyway, well, whatever. So that took me to the second type of keel, which was fin keel, slightly swept back. Some are straight, some are a million different designs of the keels, right? So this one's slightly swept back, 4.5 foot draft, good riverboat keel. Just a regular scimitar style rudder on the back, so a bit weather helmy, meaning it gets a little heavy in the high winds, but otherwise a boat that can move in light air fairly well, because the hull's more efficient, because there's less drag on the keel, less drag on the rudder, but you're less protected than the tank of an Alberg boat, a full length keel right from the pretty much the whole length of the boat, with the rudder attached right to the keel. So best protected rudder, most, and then of course as the keel comes down like that, the hull is basically the keel shape. It's not actually attached to it, it's actually built into the hull. So if you ever have a full length keel that separates from the hull, it means you got cut in half by a freighter. You've had a bad day. So while that's going on, I go sit on the other boat and I'm like, wow, this is great. It was a beautiful Tanzer 26. And coming up from my Tanzer 22, which also had the fin keel and the scimitar rudder, which you could have high aspect ratio rudders or whatever, but basically a rudder on the stern rather than underneath the boat. Which a rudder that goes mounted on the back of the boat, it's the hardware that takes the beating and stuff like that. That's why you'll see ocean-going boats almost have the rudder always protected underneath, and basically a post that goes right through the hull, and there's bearings and everything like that. And it's very heavily and sturdily made, whether it's a fin rudder, high aspect ratio, or a skeg rudder like you've seen on this boat in the previous video, where it's like a two-piece rudder like an airplane rudder, or the full-length keel where it's attached, the rudder's attached straight to, same thing, it goes through a big post, goes right through the rudder, several attachment points, and makes it as strong as possible. So then I'm sitting on the boat with them, and I said, geez, the boat I was really looking for was a Hughes 26. He goes, well, I got one of those too, right over there, and it was this one. And I got on it, and at the time, the boat was a lot better condition than what it is now. This boat's still in great condition. It just needs a little bit of work, just from sitting, it just needs maintenance, right? I do have to change one bulkhead, but other than that, this boat is pretty, it was the second most seaworthy Hughes 26 I've ever seen in my life. Back then, I mean, this boat was mint. Bad on me for letting it slide a bit. But one of the things that sold me on this boat was the hull shape is a tumble home, okay? Which means when the waves hit it, it's not just like hitting a flat wall. And the way the tumble home works is it comes down, and it also, if you saw in the previous video, how it kind of goes almost like an hourglass around my keel. Maybe not quite that exaggerated, and then the keel kind of comes down a bit like that, bells out at the bottom, almost like a shoal keel, but a shoal keel is a slightly different animal. Shoal keel is for somebody who wants a heavy boat with shallow draft, but they don't want to go with a full keel. So is a shoal keel better than a full keel for drag? I don't know. You're taking your keel and you're putting a big bulb of lead right at the bottom of it with some fins on it sometimes. Is that better? It might be. You see a lot of Genots and Beneteaus with it. It is a very popular setting. All I know is when you hear that, the full-length keel is the best. Well, if it was the best, people would still be designing boats with full keels on a regular basis. So why would they then, if the rudder, regular rudder coming down like that, or regular keel coming down like that, was so unseaworthy, why would they bother building it? How could a rudder or a keel be that's not a full-length keel, just a fin keel? Why would we even use these? If they were that, if you ran aground, they were going to snap off every time you ran aground. Well, number one, they don't snap off every time you run aground. Are they more likely? Well, arguably yes, arguably no, depending on the boat, depending on how it's built, everything like that. The one thing I said in the previous video, or in the beginning of this video, is that most boats come under sail. They don't have a lot of sail area. Okay. I picked the cutaway keel design, which is basically, this boat would be a full-length keel, but instead what they did is they took out a lot of the back of the keel and just put a skeg there, so you get the protection on the rudder. You don't have any more excess drag than you need, so it allows you to tack a little bit faster. The fastest tacking is going to be the fin keel. The fin keel has it has a higher aspect ratio. It might be a little deeper sometimes. Sometimes there'll be a bulb at the bottom, sometimes not, whatever, a million different designs. But the concept is simple, is that the water can go around the keel, okay? And the smoother the foil, the smoother it goes around the keel, okay, the less drag you get, which means when there's 2 knots of wind out, okay, your keel boat starts moving. Your fin keel boat starts moving. When there's 2 knots of wind out, your cutaway keel boat like this is waiting to start to move. It might start moving, you know. When there's 2 knots of wind out, don't even waste your time with the full length keel. Like you're not going anywhere, or you'll be doing like a 1/4 knot or something. It's just be like, this thing is just dogging it. It's just barely going. So the efficiency is one of the things. So that means you have a boat that doesn't need as much sail area to get moving, can move in lighter wind, and can tack faster. That's your advantage to the fin keel. Plus, if a fin keel is deeper, you could have a lighter keel, keeping the boat light, allowing it to move in lighter wind. That will not only tack faster, but it's a deeper, if you can get a deeper keel with the fin keel, well, you have more counter. Like I say, if you end up knocked down, it's more likely to right the boat a lot easier. So there's that. There's a lot of huge advantages. And you don't need as much sail area to get up to speed. So for the same given speed, with a full-length keel, maybe you can do, for every 1 nautical mile of wind, let's say you have a 10-knot wind and you do 6 knots. So you do 60% of the wind speed. Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. You know, that's not bad at all. Oh, I'll have to go to another part here.